the asshole for kicking my husband out of my children's father's funeral because of what he told the kids? My 36 female children's, male 12 and female 9, father, male 43, passed away after a long struggle with cancer 3 weeks ago. His death was expected, and the kids knew their dad was very sick, but still, I couldn't get them ready to handle this kind of event. Their mental and physical health is my top priority, and I want them to grieve their dad properly. My current husband, 37 male, saw no need for the kids to attend the funeral after I said they were going with me. He said they're still young, but I said they had every right to be there for the final goodbye. He suggested he go with us then, and I wasn't sure, but I contacted my former in-laws and they said that it was fine. My husband drove us to the funeral and kept making comments to the kids, telling them how to behave, which was uncalled for. We got there and I brought the kids to stand near their grandparents while my husband kept introducing himself to strangers, then went to stand next to the kids. I was standing from a distance but could hear the kids crying. I then started hearing my husband telling them to quiet down repeatedly. Not gonna lie, I did feel bothered, wishing that he would stop. While the kids were crying, he loudly said, quote unquote, "Stop crying. Really? There is no need for this. It's not like he can hear you," end quote. And the kids just started sobbing at this point. I was stunned. I looked and saw my in-laws staring at me. I felt horrible. I walked up to him and whispered I needed a minute with him. I made sure we were away, and I lost my temper, asking what he was doing. He said he was just trying to comfort the kids and help them get a hold of their emotions. I told him what he said was horrible, and everyone heard it. He tried to argue that he was just trying to help, but I said he had no right to tell the kids how to grieve their father and demanded that he leaves the funeral, but he threw a fit and said I was overreacting. I insisted, then he left after. After the funeral, the kids started avoiding me. They wanted to stay with their aunt, and I went home by myself and found my husband there waiting with an angry look on his face. He picked an argument saying I shouldn't have him out of the funeral after he came to support me and the kids, but I told him what he said made the kids refuse to even come home with me. He said the kids are using him as an outlet for their anger after he's been generous with his time and effort. And this is how we repay him? By making him out to be the bad guy? I refused to keep going, but he kept pushing for an apology for this blatant disrespect I showed him. I just want to make it known, my husband never had a good relationship with my children's father. I was extremely confused when he said he wanted to come to the funeral, but then I thought he did it for the kids. So, am I the asshole for kicking my husband out of my children's father's funeral because of what he told the kids? And the top comment coming in with 25,000 upvotes, not the asshole. However, this was too little and too late. Your kids are not too young to forget this now. Their relationship with their stepdad will be tainted forever. I would venture to say it's pretty much over. Your husband knew exactly what he was doing. He was trying to minimize their dad's death. He was making it about him. It was a purposeful show. He was still there, and he was the dad now. All he should have done is sit there, keep his mouth shut, and give you the support needed to help support your kids. I don't see therapy fixing any of this. Next comment, 7,000 upvotes. Yes, Also, the other comments he made don't paint him in a good light at all. He's trying to act like a victim and a martyr, the outlet for the children's anger. This isn't a person who is aware of how damaging what he did was. If OP decides to stay with him after that, the children could very well see it as her choosing her husband over them. And I wouldn't blame them. OP had the good sense of confronting him in private and not add unnecessary stress to her kids in a situation like this. But the bad part of the confrontations being all in private is that the kids aren't seeing their mother truly standing up for them. Also, by remaining with him, she would be subjecting her own kids to many more comments such as this, because this isn't something that a person says once and never again, especially now that he probably feels emboldened by being the quote-unquote male authority figure in the kids' lives. My vote, she's not the asshole. The stepdad is the asshole. Tell me what you think. Asshole for calling the police on my fiance. My fiance, 28 male, and I, 30 female, have been together for 3 years. I used to live close to work and I used public transportation, but after I moved into his house, which is hours away from work, I bought myself a car since I'm a nurse, and also since there isn't any hospitals close to where we live that I could transfer to. My fiance's car hasn't been working for close to 2 months now. It requires so much money to get it fixed, and he refused my financial help when I offered it. Instead, he would ask to use my car every now and then, and I agreed as long as it's when I'm not working, and also since he only uses it for trips to the supermarket, etc. On New Year's Eve, he told me he wanted to use my car to go hang out with his friends and celebrate, but I declined because I had to cover a night shift and I needed my car to travel to work. He insisted and even suggested I take the night off or swap shifts with another nurse, but I couldn't do that last minute. I thought he dropped it then, but when I went into the shower and got out, I couldn't find him nor my car. I freaked out and started calling for half an hour, but he didn't answer me. I tried again till one of his friends picked up. I demanded he give the phone to my fiance, but he said that they were out and confirmed that he took my car and told me that my fiance said that it's better that I skip my shift and he'll be back with my car later. I couldn't take it. I felt so enraged. I had my fiance on the phone telling him I did not consent for him to take my car to go hang out with friends and said that I would call the police to get it back if he refused to come back with it. But he didn't take me seriously, so I ended up calling the police, and he and his friends were picked up at the bar where they were hanging out. Then they were taken to the police department. I got my car from there and still went to my shift. My fiance was let go hours after I left, and he blew up my phone with missed calls and text messages about how I was out of my mind to call the police on him and put him in this situation. He couldn't believe I would do this to him, but I told him he made me do this, to which he responded that I was petty and callous because not only did I ruin his New Year's celebration, but all his friends aren't speaking to him after I put them in this situation as well. He kept giving me the silence treatment about it. I did consider this a form of theft, especially since he went behind my back after getting a no from me. But he was shocked that I'd even imply that he was a thief and said, "What's yours is mine," and vice versa. So I shouldn't be using the terms theft and stealing. Am I the asshole for calling the police on my fiance? And the top comment coming in with 45,000 upvotes. Not the asshole. Girl, why are you with a man who cannot take care of his own basic needs and insists that you call off work so he can go party? He is using you, and you can do way better. Do not offer financial help to people like this either. He has money to go out with his friends, then he has money for a car. Edit to add, his friends put themselves in this situation by getting into a stolen car. Do you really think they weren't all sitting around laughing at you before this happened? Next comment, 13,000 upvotes. Please, oh please, tell us you've dumped him. He has shown you who he is. Believe him. He has zero respect for you, your needs, or your property. You would experience more of this in the future. Is this how you want to live your life? And his friends are just like him. You deserve so much more. Not the asshole. Next comment, 4,000 upvotes. OP, why are you with someone like him? Dump him, please. A, he refused to fix his car and instead uses OP's car, even after she offered to help him financially. And somehow he thinks his wants should be prioritized. If you want a car whenever, use your own. B, he tried to convince OP to skip work because he wants to celebrate, and she's a nurse covering night shift. C, he stole OP's property and blew up on her for simply using her car. D, he allowed his friends, parentheses, who, like him, lack any responsibility, end parentheses, to treat OP badly, even though she's the one supporting him and their relationship. OP, dump him. He's tried to manipulate you into skipping work before, and he's stealing your car, knowing well it's gonna make you miss work. He doesn't respect you, your car, your job, or your boundaries, your property, your rules. You're not the one to blame, but you will be if you stay with this man any longer. You need to respect yourself more than that. You deserve better than a thief who doesn't respect you. And my vote, this girl is not the asshole. Not to mention, they were at a bar. I don't know where OP lives, but where I am, the police tend to use New Year's Eve to really crack down on drunk driving. If the fiance had been caught and charged with a DUI, that car could have been impacted more than just one night of work. OP could have lost her job due to his responsibility. My vote, she's not the asshole.